Oh, hell no!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else. It is Sunday night, February 5th, 2023. It's 7 p.m. on the Pacific Coast. And AJ's voice hasn't changed. We welcome you to the, I guess, not Pucknologists. It's Teal Town Live on Teal Town USA. It's Puck Guy. It's going to be Ian Reid. And we're going to be taking over the Pucknologist time slot to discuss a number of things, including breaking news for the Sharks, among other things like the All-Star Game, Marlowe Night, the Cuda recap, and the ratings are down. Interesting. Of course, like every show here on Teal Town USA, we want you to be a part of the show. So chat with us and fellow hockey fans all over the world in Sharks territory. And of course, follow us on the social, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud, Reddit, Discord, TikTok. Find everything at tealtownusa.com. And of course, if you want to support the pod, you can do so with a Venmo donation at tealtownusa or with a Super Chat donation in YouTube. And with that, I am pleased to be joined by Mr. Ian Reid.
It's 10 o'clock on a Sunday. Do you know where your hockey jerk and AJ Strong are? I don't. I know where Puck Guy is. He's talking to me.
I am. Good to see you, bud. Hope you had a nice bye week, and of course into the All-Star break. We'll get into the All-Star stuff a little bit, of course. Let's just go right into it. And breaking news that just happened. If you're watching us live, this happened maybe not even an hour ago. The San Jose Sharks have made a trade with the fellow sea creature Seattle Kraken, and that includes Jacob Megna going to Seattle. The Sharks will get a 2023 fourth-round pick coming back, so the Sharks now get even more picks in what is supposedly a deep draft. Ian, your initial take on this?
Okay, when people say deep draft, though, they're not talking about the fourth round.
How dare you?
Like, that's not how this works. Look, I think a couple of things. One, thank you, Mike Greer, for saving our show. So Mike Greer is now my favorite GM in the NHL. Okay, so here's the thing. Let's get down to brass tacks on this. I like this trade. I mean, it's not the hell yeah trade I'm looking for, but I think you took a guy in Jacob Megna, 30-year-old Jacob Megna, who I think has had a good year, and I don't want to take anything away from Jacob Megna, but I think the year he's had playing on a pair with a Erik Karlsson, who's been the best Erik Karlsson we've seen probably since that run in Ottawa, where they went in the where they went to the conference final there. You can't really go wrong here, right? Like, I think this is the ultimate selling high. Now, obviously, a fourth round pick again. When people talk about deep drafts, they're not talking about the fourth round. They're talking about how far down the first round you'll get a decent player, maybe into the second. But yeah, like I think it's a good trade. Now, obviously, I think there's a lot of implications here. This trade brings the Sharks' contracts down to 49 instead of 50. So if there's a bigger move coming where the Sharks are going to have to take more back than just one player, this gives them the flexibility to do it. It's a puzzling trade, though, at the same time, because the blue line is kind of a mess for the Sharks right now.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And AJ in the chat saying, like, it'll be interesting to see how EK rolls the rest of the season. And I agree, although, but I think if you think that Jacob, like, I hate this. I've always said this year, and I've been really kind of crotchety about this talking point this year about how I'm sick of the whisper narrative.
Starting with the Burns Whisperer with Paul
Right.
Martin.
And yeah. Like I'm sick of this narrative. So I'm hoping that it dies a fiery death when Erik Karlsson just keeps trucking along with whoever they put on his side, because I think Jacob Megna deserves credit for how he's played this season, but Jacob Megna didn't fix Erik Karlsson. Erik Karlsson fixed Erik Karlsson. That's the reality of it.
Yeah. And again, with the 4th round pick, am I correct in saying that it's going to be the Sharks' choice and they have till June, or is it the lesser of?
No, they have the Seattle Kraken have until the draft to decide which 4th round pick they give us, whether it be their own 4th round pick or the Colorado Avalanche's 4th round pick. Right. So I'm assuming we will get the lesser of the two, but again, it's the 4th round. It's a lottery ticket at that point anyway. So I'm fine with it.
So you have that. Megna, I think, was under contract through next season, if I'm not mistaken. A one-way deal, over $762,000. His Corsi 4 was a lot better with Karlsson with Megna was a lot better Corsi 4 as opposed without.
Sure.
But still, like you said, EK's done a lot of things.
Right. I think
own.
Like being healthy, I think, has been the big, the big thing there, right? So I mean, and look at maybe I don't know something. Maybe something I don't know. Maybe like Jacob Megna is like also a chiropractor in his spare time.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe Jacob Megna is the key to all of this.
Yeah.
I have my doubts.
We'll see. We'll see how this goes. I mean, for Seattle, they get some more depth defensemen. Obviously, they're going to be making a playoff run unless they just fall off the ban. And if I'm not mistaken, they're the first place Seattle Kraken, which I never thought. I
thought people were sleeping on Seattle this year, but apparently I was too, because I thought they were going to be good. And it's funny, Lanicle, I don't think Lanicle's in the chat right now, but he had like the best tweet ever. He tweeted out, "This also means the JM trend will continue with the EK65, and Jacob McDonald is next up to have a career year because it's a guy with the initials of JM who may play with them next. So maybe Jacob McDonald's the next guy to have a career year."
True. And like we've said before, with Middleton, you didn't give up anything. With Megna, you didn't give up anything to get him, and now you're getting something in return. So
yeah, I think like this is a good bit of business for Mike Grier. Like it absolutely is. Again, this is not the hell yeah move I'm looking for, but I'm not offended by this move either.
Right.
Like I think you took a guy in Jacob Megna, who I think, is probably, I still think he's a tweener guy. Like Jacob Megna, again, 30 years old. Maybe he's a late bloomer, but at the end of the day, I think this is a good bit of business. I think you sold high. You probably got max value for Jacob Megna. I think anyone who thinks that Jacob Megna is worth more than a 4th round pick, I'd show your work, I guess, would be my take on it. But it's a decent bit of business.
Yeah. Like I said, for a guy who the Sharks just picked up, former Barracuda captain, let's also mention that too, and turn in, and like Kevin just said it for me. Thank you, bud. Megna was on an AHL contract, quote unquote, and turned it into a 4th round pick. What's not to like,
No, it's a good bit of business. If you're angry at this, like I said, tell me why. I want to know, because I'm fascinated.
If you're watching us live, tell us what you think of the trade. If you're watching the replay, comment down below. Tell us what you think about this trade where Jacob Megna is now a member of the Seattle Kraken. If not, unless I've missed some minor move, it is the first trade between sea creatures in the NHL. So, a little bit there of history in sense. But kind of
between sea creatures. That's good. I like it.
Thank you. On occasion, I have some witty terms here. So that covers that. Megna to Seattle for the 4th round pick. Seattle has to choose by a draft if it's theirs or the pick they have from Colorado. But let's kind of go back a little bit earlier in the day where we saw Nikolai Knyzhov having his conditioning stint end, but then gets assigned to the Barracuda. Does this kind of partly maybe make way for Knyzhov to make the move to fly down to Tampa for Tuesday's game?
I mean, it's possible. It's really hard to say because there's things that there's still a lot of stuff with this blue. We don't know what Shimmick's status is yet. So I think that kind of makes things cloudy. I think and Knyzhov, the other thing with Knyzhov you have to remember too is he doesn't have to go through waivers, so they can yank him up and send him down as much as they want. If Knyzhov does stay with the Barracuda, I think it's a big win for the Barracuda. I think the Barracuda need all the help they can get on their blue line. And I think as he gets his conditioning stint's over, so I think if he starts playing regular games, he hasn't played in 2 years. So I think the Sharks should be patient with him. I don't think there's any rush to throw him back into the NHL quickly. So I think if he stays on the Barracuda, I think it's a win for them. If he gets called back up to play with the Sharks, I think it's a win-win in either situation that way. But I don't think there's any rush. Like, I think, again, it's hard to get to this point in the season to get to this level of intensity after not playing for 2 years. So obviously the Barracuda have used him, but I feel, they've used him sparingly and rightfully so. I would like to see him get regular reps somewhere. If that's the Barracuda, I think that's great for them because look, the Barracuda right now, as the Barracuda stand, they are tied for the last playoff spot, but they are technically on the outside looking in because, what team is it? Bakersfield has 2 games in hand now. So they have the same points as the Bakersfield Condors. The Condors have 2 games in hand. So if the Barracuda are going to make a push, and they should be, obviously, because tanking in the AHL gets you nothing. I don't know if anyone knows this. There's no tanking in the AHL because it doesn't get you anything. So obviously they're going to make a push. I think having Knyzhov down on the Barracuda will help that push. Because I think, again, the Barracuda, it's time to play some good hockey and really put the pressure on. I think they've played better since Pouliot's been back. But look, at the end of the day, you have to put points on the board. And the Barracuda aren't doing that with a consistent enough basis. So, yeah.
All right. Well, since I know we kind of have a rule, kind of an order that we were going to go through. Do you want to just jump right to the Cuda since we're on top of it?
Yeah, I mean, we might as well, right? Barracuda split a couple of games this week in Bakersfield, or didn't split. They lost both of them, actually, and it was in San Jose. It wasn't even in Bakersfield. I'm just making this shit up as I go along, as you can clearly see. No, they lost both games 3-2. I didn't get a chance to watch the first game, so I can't tell you a ton about that one. I think the one that they played yesterday
against Abbotsford.
Yes, against the Abbotsford Canucks. It was an okay game. They played worse games. I thought they played well. I thought it was a kind of a disastrous second that kind of undid it for them. But I didn't hate the game. Like there's been games, especially against the Abbotsford Canucks, where if you watched anything that we've done recently, or earlier in the week I talked to Nick Nolenberger, and I commented about how a game against Abbotsford kind of broke me with this team. It wasn't that. It just wasn't, it was one of the better games they played. They just didn't win, unfortunately. And again, like I said, for the Barracuda right now, points matters.
Yeah, big time.
Points really matter. They didn't play Bakersfield either. I know I got Bakersfield on the brain right now because of the whole standing situation. It's
the long name in the Pacific that's thrown off. Bakersfield, Abbotsford,
Bakersfield, Abbotsford.
Total. But yeah, they were both
tomato.
Both 3-2 losses.
I'm sure people in Abbotsford are really angry with me right now.
We like to
that I just compared them to Bakersfield. I've been to Bakersfield. I've never been to Abbotsford.
I would love to go to Abbotsford, and I've Bakersfield, not so much. We like to apologize to the city of Abbotsford
Yes,
and the
because I
Canucks
just compared you to
organization.
Bakersfield, and I'm sure that like having been to Bakersfield, like that would be like if you told me Sault Ste. Marie was comparable to Bakersfield, I'd be insulted. So I'm sure the people in Abbotsford are now insulted.
Hey, the Sault.
But yeah, I mean, look at down to business. I cover the Barracuda. Look, if you want to hear all about the Barracuda, did a show with Nick Nolenberger. I thought it was really good. The feedback on the show was really, really good, and I appreciate the feedback on that show. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. I think it was an excellent show. Yeah.
Hey, let's be honest. Kudos to you for doing After Dark plus Barracuda on there. Ian's been doing the gifting on
most of it. Yeah. Like there's been nights where I've had to be bailed out because the one thing I said this year doing what we do is like I'm not getting 3 hours of sleep to do it, and I've been very hard and fast to that rule. So there's been nights where I've had to get up really early in the morning to go to work. And so obviously watching a Barracuda game would leave me with no sleep, and people have covered me when I've had to do that. So I've appreciated that, obviously. But it's been good.
Coming up for the Cuda this week, they have a back-to-back at home against the formerly the Stockton Heat, the Calgary Wranglers. Come to town. That's a Friday night at 7 and a Saturday night at 6. So they'll be on the lookout for that.
And that's the thing with the Barracuda too, is like if they're going to make the playoffs, like it's not going to be easy, because if you look at their upcoming schedule, there's a lot of pain there. There's a lot of pain coming up for the Barracuda. Like the Barracuda, if they make the playoffs, like it's going to be because they forced the issue and pushed themselves in, because their schedule does not get easy.
Yeah. So, hey, let's give something for Jerk and AJ that would normally hear in the time slot. There you go.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. That's for you guys. They are on assignment, as they say in Giants broadcasts. We'll move along here. So Thomas Bordelot, All-Star bound. Had a nice goal in the breakaway shootout in the All-Star Skills up in Laval earlier today. The All-Star game, I believe, is tomorrow.
Yeah.
I would assume it's probably around 4 o'clock local time here, the West Coast, in the land of Mr. Reid. I want to say is.
Give me a second. I will find that answer for you, because I don't really care. Like, it's an All-Star game. It's an AHL All-Star game, so I care even less. Which we're going to talk about All-Star games in a minute. But yes, yeah, I care. I care even less. Where am I? I have to.
Yeah.
I need to clean up my bookmarks and get things done here. The game tomorrow is at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern.
And I believe that's locally here on the NHL Network.
I believe you can also watch it free on HL TV if you have an account. So if you do want to watch it, I'm pretty sure it's free for everyone. You just have to make an account, and it doesn't, like, they're not going to bill you anything or anything like that. Nope. You just have to make an account. So maybe they'll send you an email saying, "Hey, do you want to buy our Barracuda package for X dollars?"
And it's I mean, we enjoy the pirate ship here and there, but the AHL deal is pretty good. It's pretty affordable.
You know what? For it, like, obviously, look at AHL quality. Like, the quality's kind of like meh as far as like what you would expect from, like, it's most times it's usually pretty standard def. It's one camera angle. So it's not like the greatest thing, but for AHL TV gets a lot of flack. But for me personally, I've had one unwatchable Barracuda game this year, and the rest of the time it's been fine. So
yeah,
I think if you truly are a Barracuda diehard, I think especially if you just want to watch the Cuda, I think that the money to watch just the team, I don't think it's that bad, honestly.
No.
But I wouldn't suggest it unless you are like a absolute diehard, right? Like, I don't think it's if you just want to casually do it, I don't know if it's worth the money. But to me, I thought it was like, I don't have any regrets.
No, I have just a strictly Barracuda package until the playoffs. You know,
How many unwatchable Shark games?
no,
Well, I mean, from play wise, maybe they're about even. But I think like when I say like unwatchable, I just mean like just bad technical issues and stuff, which I think really badly plagued AHL TV when it first launched
Right.
under its current format. There was times where like the feed would go scrambly, or the audio would be like robot. Which I understand robot, so it's fine, but it might annoy other people.
but
Play wise, on the other hand, it's been pretty dicey for both.
yeah. That's so fun. So yeah, not to hashtag no free ads, but gotta go ahead and enjoy that. So be on the lookout again the Friday and Saturday night for the Cuda against the Calgary Wranglers. All right, so let's move on to the Sharks, and I mean this is the weekly recap that we're filling in for. So the Sharks this week go 0-0-0,
A winning week.
a winning week. And plus, they, if you just joining us, they have traded Jacob Megna to the Seattle Kraken for a 4th-round pick in 2023. With everything going on, everything that's been happening, the change around and everything, where's this team at? I mean, we've heard, words like demoralized, angry, sad. Wait, sorry. Let me try to do that in the word of a hockey trick. Sad. Hope I got that right, trick.
Sad.
And I think I've heard more bad than good. And to quote you, my friend, when the Sharks do bad, it's bad.
It is bad. It's really bad when the Sharks do bad.
But from the psyche of this team, I mean, they've had some games where they've been in it, and then there's some guys there's been some games where it's just like, holy mother of God, you had the lead and you blew it, like the Carolina game. You gotta wonder what kind of toll it's been stress-wise on these guys.
Yeah, I think, look, here's the thing, right? When it comes to the players, because there's always all this talk about tanking and whatever, and we can argue in the chat about, the validity of tanking and but like at the end of the day, and I've always said this, and I'll maintain this now, like the players don't tank, man. You don't make it to this level of professional any sport, like if you're not absolutely driven. Because I think, look at talent will get you far, but like you don't get to the NHL because you don't want to win, right? Like these guys are wired to want to win. And they go on the ice and they try, like, and now does management put a team on the ice that can win? Like that's where things get dicey. And when I look at this blue line for the Sharks, especially, now that we've subtracted Jacob Megna from it, is this blue line constructed to win games? I don't think so. But so it's hard. I can't imagine how hard it must be for these guys to know, like, to not be, especially if they don't feel they're in a position to win. Now, I don't know how they feel. I'm not in the room. I don't talk to these guys on, I don't have a private Twitter DM with Logan Couture, so I have no idea how they feel about how the team's currently constructed or whatever. But I believe to a man they want to win. And obviously it's frustrating, right? Especially if you're a guy who's been here for a long time and all they've known until now is playoffs. Like, I can't imagine that's easy, because you only get so many years in the NHL. You only get so many chances to win the Signy Silver thing.
I mean, you look at Logan Couture and and last time the Sharks were in the playoffs, way back in 2019. I mean, Logan Couture was having himself a hell of a playoff run. Mm-hmm. It seemed like he was in 2016. And I think that's probably why there's so many, rumblings about Logan Couture and where he's going, if he's going to stay with this team, because he has shown that he can be a proven playoff performer. But now you're 4 years later. It's like you haven't tasted those playoff games.
It's hard, man, especially if you were a guy who was on that 2016 team, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like, to me, so like, yeah, do I believe that they're unhappy because they're not a good team? I 100% believe that. But, at the end of the day, like, it's not I don't think the Sharks are bad because the players are not trying. I just think that this is not a very well constructed team. I think this is a team that unfortunately hit its best before date, and hit its best before date much quicker than I think Doug Wilson thought they would. And now this is unfortunately the fallout of that.
And let's be honest here too. How long was that window open though? I mean, how many times we heard back in 2009 after, hell, when they won the President's Trophy and then lose to Anaheim in 6 games, and then they're like, oh, you got to get rid of Marleau. Oh, he's been awful. You got to strip the seat. We had all those like almost over a decade and a half ago, change it. But the question now is that if you're going to move on from some of these guys, how much salary retention are you willing to take? Because I can't see Logan being traded at face value.
Oh, I think someone, you know what? I know
even
a lot of
his
people
deal's nice.
Get angry about Logan Couture's contract and his play. I think that someone would take him. Like, I don't think his contract is unreasonable. When you look at some of the deals that are getting signed right now, his contract's not unreasonable. The problem is the cap. The problem is finding a team that has the cap space. I don't think there are plenty of GMs out there that I think would love that, think that they'd be like, oh no, we can give Logan Couture a change of scenery and put him with X and Y. And I think, that might put us over the top. I think there's teams that would believe that.
Oh yeah.
The problem is that because of COVID and everything else, the cap just won't move. Like, and it feels like every year it's like, oh no, this is the year the cap's going to go up, and then it doesn't. And that's the problem. I think
that's a big problem.
That's a big problem. And it absolutely is, because I'm not, because again, it's like, does the cap go up next year significantly, or is it just another million again? And then well, maybe next year it's going to go up by 4 or 5 million. And I feel like we've been hearing that since the restart.
Yeah.
Well, this year's no cap, but next year it could go up a lot.
And we'll get into one of those parameters later, but I mean, TV is a big thing about it, and we'll discuss that a little bit later in the program. But tickets are getting really high.
Sure.
If
I mean, they've got to
sucks,
get out of this, right? Like, they have to get the players' portion of escrow because paid off, or whatever the situation is, right? Because if this cap doesn't move, like, I feel like it's kind of, the cap situation is kind of strangling the game right now.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, now, would you say if you were to have a cap, but you would have like one player that is capped exempt, what would you think of that idea?
You know what? At this point, like, I just want the cap to do things. I don't care, like, I don't care how they do it. Like, you just want the cap to move again, so we can actually get some movability, right? Because again, like, we're talking about this trade deadline, but like, and maybe and maybe a team takes Timo Meier, right? Because everyone thinks, oh well, they moved a contract, so now they have a contract space, so they can make more, they can do something with a Timo Meier deal. But man, like, again, I'm at the point now where, like, I would be, are we going to talk about after the trade deadline and like all we're going to have to show for it is Jacob Megna and Matt Nieto? Like, no, that, like, I don't think that is just within, like, Timo Meier could get traded, but that is just as much, I think, within the realm of possibility. Yeah, and maybe and they can probably move a couple more players, but you know what I mean? Like, but it wouldn't would I be shocked at if the trade deadline comes and goes and it's not Timo Meyer, it's Jacob Megna and Matt Nieto and enter fringe piece here for minor pieces.
Right. And not to put you on the spot, the CBA expires in 2025? It's
coming up, yeah, because they extended it, and obviously the Players Association, they are trying to get a new director in, but it's hard because the owners. It's funny because the owners have kind of had their way with the players union, even with Donald Fear in charge. I would argue that they've still had their way with them. And it always seems like the owners always seem to come out when the CBA first goes, and the owners seem to come out as winners, and then somehow they fuck it up themselves and manage to lose by the end of it, to the point where you have to roll everything back again. Because that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for the next CBA where they're gonna roll back the cap again, because they always seem to do it, right? And then you have amnesty buyouts again or whatever, and then the cap just inflates a million times because the owners can't help but fuck themselves over.
Exactly. That's the great point, Ian, is that, we need to roll back. It's about ticket sales. Yeah, you said that in 2004. How are your ticket sales now? Seriously.
Well, obviously, yeah.
And then you throw in the ticket bastard fees, and it's even worse.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it hasn't, but that's the one thing back in that lockout that they never said that again, right? The one after we lost the season, I was like, fans might get, Gary Bettman, for all his detractors, is a pretty smart dude. Mm-hmm. And he never said that after any other, anytime the CBAs come up again, never mentioned ticket prices ever again.
Right.
Right? Calculated, because he knows better.
Well, I hope so, but
and look at to kind of go, I know I'm kind of going off trail here and probably messing up the little piece of paper we put together, but the other problem is if you're looking at trying to increase revenues and stuff, right? A lot of teams might be in trouble because Bally Sports is one of the when I watch the Sharks play against all the teams and I can't watch the Sharks feed, Bally is the big portion of the other teams in the league. A lot of them 15. Are affiliated with Bally Sports. Bally Sports, their parent company's gone for bankruptcy. They might cut ties with some of their regional teams, and that would be a disaster for the NHL because a lot of, without getting too deep into the minutia of how regional contracts work versus the national contracts, the thing is the regional contracts are with the specific teams, right? Whereas the national one kind of goes to the big pot, but the regional teams that, for some teams, that is a big portion of the regional, of the team's revenue. So a team for example, and I'm just using them as an example. I'm not saying oh my God, they're in trouble. But the St. Louis Blues, right? They're a Bally Sports team. So if let's say Bally, St. Louis, or whatever the hell, that network is, decided that, well, you know what, to save costs, we're just not going to show Blues games anymore because we don't want to pay you to show Blues games. That's a disaster for the Blues. That's a big chunk out of the St. Louis Blues revenue. And then not to mention the other effect that would have on just, on the team in general, because this isn't a carriage, this isn't a direct TV situation. This is a channel that, regardless of who's carrying it on your cable network, just not showing games anymore.
Right. And that's the biggest thing I have with is that it's where are you putting these games?
Right.
And let's be honest here, streaming hasn't caught on just yet.
I think it's caught on. I think the problem is that the NHL has made it, at least in the US. I don't know. I can't, it's hard because I don't have the US package, right? So it's on Hulu, you got ESPN Plus and you got TNT and you got all these different things for your NHL package down there. And it seems from up here, it seems so convoluted. I can't imagine what it's like for down there, trying to figure out, where you're going to watch your game and what blackout you have to deal with or anything else. Up here, I mean, up here, I don't really have to do a blackout because, like, if it's blacked out, I have it on one of my other streaming packages, so it's fine. But it seems really convoluted down there. And if you lose like a Bally Sports and no one else is going to pick up the slack, like, does that mean like the team has to try and be like, hey, we'll stream the games? And then you're going to pay us directly X number of dollars. Like, I'm curious to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what happens next. I mean, do they go back to local TV? I mean,
can a local TV pay the money that, like, because rights fees have gone through the roof, right?
And that's the big thing, is that can you put it on? I mean, of course, for longtime Sharks fans, that KICU, which is now KTVU Plus out here, was the main go-to station for Sharks broadcasts early on before the Sharks signed a deal with then Fox Sports Net Bay Area.
Yeah, I mean, up here, Detroit, like, you used to get Red Wings games, like, just on the local Fox affiliate. I just think with the way rights fees have gone, I don't know if you can put that genie back in the bottle. I'm really curious to see how this thing with Bally plays out, to see how it has an effect on deals. But I just,
my thinking,
the internet's such a, like, the problem here. I'm going to go on this really weird tangent, so you're gonna have to forgive me for a second here.
All right.
I'm gonna get deeply Canadian on you for a minute, but like, it seems like people just don't want to get with the times. Like, up here, there is this bill called C11, and people are gonna, like, just zone out and go to sleep, and I apologize.
No, explain it,
like,
though.
Basically, what C11 is going to do is it's going to give the CRTC, which is the Canadian Radio and Television, it's basically the FCC in Canada.
Right.
It's basically going to give them regulatory access, like, basically regulatory domain over things on the internet, things like YouTube, things like Spotify, things like, YouTube, Spotify would be the Netflix even, right?
Okay.
Where it's going to be like, hey, up here we have this stupid thing called CanCon, which is short for Canadian content. And basically what it's basically dictates is if you are a network in Canada, then you have to have 60% Canadian content. So instead of your YouTube just being, for me, again, I feel bad because I'm droning on about this, but like, for me, right? So instead of just me having, like, this is what I'm subscribed to and this is what's in my feed, like, they're going to have to push in Canadian content just to fill quotas, right? And I hate how the more things seem to get better on the internet with, like, different streaming packages and everything, the more legacy media comes and fucks it all up for everyone. I think that's the point I was trying to get to, and I took you on a really weird journey to get there.
No, I get what you're saying, and kind of reminds me, I think there's like a Canadian rule in the CFL that you have to have a certain amount of Canadian programs to come within the rules of parameter. It'd be like if we're doing all this stuff from the U.S. and then we are required to have Letterkenny on in between, for an example. So.
Yes, for those that don't know, I am in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Canada, which is on the border with Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, in the middle of the Great Lakes. If you look at the Great Lakes on a map and you go to the middle of it, you will see Sault, Michigan, and Sault, Ontario, and that's where I live, and 3,000 miles away.
And you're you're kind of near Detroit, right?
No, Detroit is a long jaunt. Detroit's south.
So do you? I'm sorry. So
I'm near nothing. I'm near trees and lakes.
Okay. But you get blacked out on a boatload of stuff, though.
I would if I did. If I just had like the Sunrise package and I didn't subscribe to anything else. So if I didn't have like the TSN internet streaming package, yeah, if a game was on TSN, I wouldn't be able to watch it normally through my Sunrise. Just kind of like, I'm sure similar down there.
I look at it this way. The only way that they're going to get out of this, it's kind of similar to what MLS did this year, is have Apple TV and you subscribe through there and there are no blackouts anywhere.
Yeah, the NHL just needs to get over. But then if you see, and again, here's the problem, right? Because of what we said earlier, and I feel like we've really gone off the rails here, so I apologize. Again, but then that if you made it so that if you just paid one subscription, like the NHL owners won't want that because they make too much money off of their regional deals. So unless if you'd have to find a way to make it so that teams would get a bigger cut of the NHL money, like if the NHL's overall money, and I don't know how they do that. But I agree, like that's the way to do it, right? Like they need to get into, like, we just need to get to a point where we just make things easier for people to consume them. But it's the problem is robbing Peter to pay Paul.
And letting everybody know where it's at. I will say this, that I didn't know the All-Star game was at noon yesterday locally. I saw 3 p.m. and I thought it was 3 p.m. But
foolish child, thinking that the world does not revolve around the Eastern time zone. Foolish.
Well, I mean, I know, shame on me, but it's right. Oh, hail ye Eastern time zone. Yeah, give me a break. It's my thing is that let us know, because when the All-Star game was in San Jose, it was on prime time, 5 p.m. Saturday. Mm-hmm. You have that. You throw in, and we're gonna get into the All-Star stuff as I do this, but
yeah,
it's like you guys have to figure out something. Your ratings are down 22%.
Yeah.
You need to figure out, ESPN and TNT. I think
TNT is good. I think ESPN's been awful. Like for all the people on Twitter that tell me that hockey can't be a real sport if it's not on ESPN. Like ESPN thanks you for your brainwashedness, I'm sure. Like it's not a real sport if it's not on ESPN. ESPN's been fucking terrible. Like most of the ESPN stuff that I've watched up here, it's been like it's riddled with technical issues for supposedly the worldwide leader in sports.
Right.
Fuck, they suck. Like I think it's been riddled with technical issues. I don't really like the TNT. Like I would much rather watch the TNT intermission stuff, although I think intermission stuff's kind of just past its best before date anyway, because Twitter's a thing. Like before, like once upon a time, man, like I used to love watching intermission because like that's when you would get like all the big rumors and stuff. But dude, the second a rumor's a thing, I just pick up my phone and it's there for me. Like I don't really need your national intermission show.
Well, yeah, because you have Elliot Friedman, Darren Dreger, Pierre LeBrun all on Twitter.
Yeah.
And but the thing I've noticed with the ESPN, and here I am going off on a tangent. They keep bringing in. I love Steve Levy and everything, but Chris Chelios. You have Mark Messier, and then you had a tiki bar next to them for All-Star Weekend. It's like, really? I thought PK Subban was a nice addition, and that I think needed them to save their asses, to be quite honest. I mean, it's getting better, but you need some sort of that personality that you've seen with TNT. But honestly, ESPN kind of went cheap here, with the exception of Ray Ferraro and AJ Molesko.
No, I love Ray Ferraro. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying it's been a complete barren wasteland. Like, there are things about like the ESPN broadcast, but I think TNT has fed them their ass.
Yeah. It's. I mean, I like Butcher Gross. I really like PK. I love myself some chicken parm Ferraro. But after that, I think he brought in Sean McDonough because it was a familiar name and he kind of called hockey for them in the 90s. I know Bob Wischusen has done a pretty good job, fairly well, but I'm kind of surprised they didn't go after a name. And maybe that's because there really wasn't a big name outside of Kenny Albert since Mike Emmerich retired down here. I love myself some Jim Houston, but they need to find a voice that's going to resonate. Not going to tell Randy Hahn to go national, but I mean, we're getting off the rails here too much, but it's just ridiculous. for that. And yeah, you're on ESPN, but at what cost? Because I
Yeah,
think that
like
it's been really
I don't
cheap.
think ESPN's been particularly good for them. I think again, I think it's convoluted. You're right. Like what they need to do is you pay for one package and you get all the games, and that's
Yeah.
that.
And
And like and for the love of God, when you pay for that package, like let me pick the stream, because like up here, again and again, I bore you with Canadian nonsense, but like
love
up
it.
here, like if you see what the NHL deal has done to Sportsnet, like the amount of talent that they have
Oh
had
my
to
God.
walk out the door because of how much, like I'm curious to see what they get on the next Canadian deal, because I guarantee it's not going to be like, I don't think TSN's going to be like, well, hey, Sportsnet gave you like $11 billion and it completely destroyed them, so let's give you 17. Like I think it's going to be a partnership again, which is going to just completely again make things more complicated up here. But again, it's like and again, they've managed to make things worse. Like again, the NHL package up here, and I bitched about this a lot, but like I just get whatever feed they give me. Like I'm watching fucking Center Ice in 1992.
Yeah.
I don't think Center Ice was a thing in 92, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like it's 2003, and it's
Mm-hmm.
2003, and I'm watching Center Ice, and I get whatever feed they give me on whatever channel they throw it on, and I should be just thankful that I get to watch Sharks hockey at all. Like it sucks that in this year, like not only do they change things, but they make it worse. And I think ESPN has made hockey coverage in the US worse.
Yeah. I get that they want to spread the love around, but you got to make it interesting.
Yeah.
And the league itself doesn't help itself, but we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, let's get into the All-Star game, because I
Yes.
think we're running along, which is fine. I don't care anymore.
We'll tell our affiliates that we're going long. So much
Yeah,
for
yeah,
trying to do a
that's
Type
fine.
45. All good.
And if we get dropped by our affiliates, I mean, whatever.
Don't worry. Where are they going to show? They're going to show hockey next? What? Replay of the All-Star game. There you go. So let's have some fun a little bit. This picture of Erik Karlsson and his daughter was adorable. I saw Sharky playing around with her. It is so cute. But what was your take from the All-Star game? I mean, I know you didn't take in much because you were watching the Barracuda, but
Yeah. So I mean, the All-Star game. Let's start with the skills competition. We'll get into the game itself.
yeah.
Because like we watched the in the Discord, we were watching the AHL skills competition, and like it was just such a breath of fresh air, man. Like it was just like rapid fire events, and just like events that like show off the players' skills. Just like your typical stuff. And I think for the skills competition, like I didn't mind the goal thing. I actually thought the goal thing was kind of entertaining, but I feel like
tandem.
it's just zany for the sake of zaniness. I understand what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to make it more like the NBA, because I think like look at the NBA does a lot of things right. The problem with the NHL is the players all have the personality of cardboard. Whereas the NBA, there's a lot more personalities that are allowed to shine more. Most of the NHL players, they've got the personality of a cardboard, like a piece of cardboard. And I don't. I think sometimes it's just zany for for zany's sake. I don't mind like doing the goal thing. I didn't think that was like a bad deal. I thought that was fine.
I like the one with the surfboards personally, with the dunk tank. I thought that was awesome.
The surfboard thing was fine too. Like I just wish they would just kind of get back to basics with it though.
Yeah.
Look at the players are never gonna try. Like they're just never gonna try. So like I think it is what it is at this point. And again, like the end of the day, the skills, like the All-Star weekend is for two groups of people: children, sponsors, which I don't think we fall in either category.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I've got less years in front of me than I do behind.
Yeah. I just, the whole thing, and AJ mentioned it here, the skills were fine. It was the spread out production that was stupid AF.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not like going back to that. That reminded me of the Olympics on NBC way too much. Just have the event, move on to the next one.
Yeah, have the event, move on to the next. Not like, oh, we're gonna do this, and then just out of nowhere, we're gonna hard left turn into this thing, and you know what I mean? Like, I liked watching. I enjoyed watching the AHL skills more than the, and like obviously
Agreed.
to the AHL skills, like it's not really a television production, so it's not like you have to like go to like oh, what's PK Subban have to say with so and so, and like you just kind of go slap through the events, but the events aren't zany either, right? Like it's like it's kind of the stuff we grew up on. It's like goalies getting shot on by two players 10 times from each angle, and breakaway challenges and stuff like that. I don't need the zany.
I think you go a little bit with the zany just because of the social media world and the TikToks and the Instagram reels.
I understand. And again, right?
Shots.
Like, and again, and it goes back to what I said. None of this is for me. I am not the target demographic here.
Right.
So I do try and keep that in mind. But I think that the NHL, like a lot of people complain. Like usually the skills competition is my bag, man. Like I will watch the skills competition and then like background noise the game, and I had no use for the skills competition tonight. Like
like a tiger.
Yeah.
Give me an all-star thing where you shoot at a bench at Torts or iPads, and
I want Torts to come and shoot iPad accuracy shooting with John Tortorella. That would be fucking hilarious, but we can't have that.
Yeah.
So I mean the skills competition, just do it. Don't be all over the place with it. Just do one event and move on to the next and move on to the next, and get it done. As for the game itself, I think I've seen people say that they need to go back to 5-on-5, but nothing is going to make these guys show up. Like, they're not going to do like baseball where like winning the All-Star game is going to like determine home ice and Stanley Cup final or anything like that, right? Like we're never going to, that's never going to be a thing. And you can put money on the line, which they tried to do to make it more competitive. But most of these guys have more money than God. No rinky-dink amount of money you're going to throw to the winning team is going to motivate these guys to try blowing out a knee in an All-Star game to before the playoff push, right? Like they're never going to try, and that's just the way it is.
And that's the scary part, because it's like here you're supposed to be showcasing your talents and everything, and you're going half speed on it, and it's like, oh man, it's tough because
like I don't think there's any stakes that you could put in it that's going to make players try, because at the end of the day, it's an exhibition game in the middle of, right before basically the playoff push starts. I think 3-on-3, I like the 3-on-3 format, because guess what? You can't bitch that there's no hitting in a 3-on-3 game, because how often do you see a big hit in a 3-on-3 overtime?
Exactly.
Almost never. Why? Because it's 3-on-3. It's not inductive to that. And I think going back to 5-on-5 isn't going to spice up the game, because it's going to be a non-hitting affair, but you're going to be more annoyed that it's not hitting because the game is more conductive to that kind of play, right?
Right.
Like I remember one year, like Jeremy Roenick laid somebody, I think it was Keith Tkachuk. I think he went and hit Keith Tkachuk, and it was like, it was hilarious, but it was like the first time I've seen a hit in an All-Star game.
Right. Of course, we had a challenge in this one the other day. That's just crazy. Kevin, even Jack and Bredman was talking about how cringy it was.
Yeah.
Well, AJ mentioning how Trevor Zegras was snoozing on Twitter, and it's just crazy to see.
It's not, I mean, it's never going to matter. It's never going to be good again. And it's always going to come back to the point I made earlier. It's not for us.
Nope.
When I liked the All-Star game? When I was 10, and I thought, oh man, look at all these cool guys playing together, because, we weren't allowed to have, Canada Cups anymore, and the Olympics weren't a thing. Like, if you want to see these guys get together when it matters, let's get some actual best on best tournaments going again. Like
what?
That's
you mean like a World Cup of hockey?
Yeah. Yeah,
they
let's
can't
do
figure
that
out yet either.
Well, I know they can't figure that out. I understand, but like if you want to get something that matters, like that's when That's when you're going to get the players to actually give a damn. They're never going to give a shit about the All-Star game. It's never going to matter. And again, it's not for you anyway. So if you're super upset that the All-Star game was disappointing to you, it's not for you. It's not for you. It's for if you have children, it's for the children that were sitting beside you watching.
Yep. It's for the kids growing up like Harlow Carlson. But, Hot Wheels mentioning John Scott fighting Patrick Kane was the last just good highlight. Well, and of course
stuff like that. But again, who's that for? Is that for us at home, or if we find something to take out of it that's good, that's a win for them. But at the end of the day, the All-Star game isn't for us. It's not supposed to entertain us. It's not supposed to be much-see television for dudes in their 40s that talk too much on the internet.
Hey, I don't know what you're talking about there. But the thing is that it's, and AJ mentioning you want to fix the All-Star game, don't have it. Just award guys at the end of the season rather than for 7 weeks. There's that, but also it's revenue for the local market. It's a sponsorship destination.
It's for two people. It's for children and sponsors.
Yeah.
Children because they're too young and naive to realize it sucks, and sponsors because they get to, make a boatload of money off of it. And I'll give them credit, though. The one thing I will give them credit for, I thought Fall Guy was a nice get for them.
Oh, that was a big get. Green Day a couple of years ago.
Was a nice get for them. Normally, the NHL usually lags behind as far as, musical entertainment. And maybe Fall Out Boy's, a little past their best before date. But, it's way better than, fucking Kid Rock. We got Kid Rock the 1 year. Fucking kill me.
Kid Rock in 2018 in Tampa. You had BB Rexa at the Shark Tank in San Jose in 2019. Of course, a year later, they get Green Day. It's like you could have done that, with a nice turnout.
That was a nice get. That was a nice get. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I don't know. It's fine.
AJ, you mentioned this where you talk about a local competition. They used to have those everywhere.
Some teams still do.
And some teams still do. I know Winnipeg had some. I know Seattle had it. Not every team did it. I think the Sharks had it. I think the Sharks tried to do that last year and replace a fan fest. Yeah. But they should have competition. Send those out. See who you have to Noah Gregor, being the fast one. So, but the other thing too is, Gary has to make the 32 decisions, and then the fans get to vote because, we picked out John Scott about 7 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, and that was a good story. And again, the NHL had to fix it.
Right, of course.
And I think that is the one thing with hockey in general is hockey people in general is they just take this thing far too fucking seriously. This is hockey's serious fucking business, guys. Don't fucking fuck with the All-Star. It's serious business. Do not fuck with the All-Star game. Hey. I think it's they just take themselves so fucking seriously. They should be more like me. I'm a slapdick on YouTube that comes on here and swears and says really dumb things probably 90% of the time, and I don't care. Hey, I'm not worried about it.
Like Randy Hahn always says,
better not F with me.
We will never F with you, Randy Hahn. But
they just take themselves so fucking seriously.
But the one thing I did enjoy in this All-Star game, the uniforms, first off, the reverse retro of the 94 All-Star jerseys were freaking awesome.
Yeah, that was cool. I dug it. Yeah, I dug that.
And everybody got into it. Of course, Harlow is wearing the Western jersey, but I really loved how everybody got into it. This is Logan Thompson's mask from the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, Linus Ullmark had some palm trees and had some icy blue pads.
The goalies. The goalies really went all out for some of their get-ups, and I dig that, right?
Yes.
I super dig that.
And I love Mitch Marner had 2 sets of skates. He had these really nice black with the light blue and the hot pink, and then he also had the ones that he actually wore. These white skates. Wait, what is that on the one side? Wait, what is that? That's a shark. Oh, Ian, I think
we know what's going on.
Yep, we know what's going on. He wants to be traded to the Sharks.
To San Jose, confirmed.
With San Ramon native Austin Matthews. Make it happen, people. Like, seriously, there you go, folks. But I mean, this is kind of another way to market.
That is like that is the Screaming Shark logo. Like,
It practically
one
is.
copyright. Like, sharks go sue Mitch Marner right now.
But I mean,
or if you don't want to get sued, you have to come play for our future team.
Absolutely.
Decisions
under a good cap deal. But I mean, marketing wise, I love how the style comes out on this. The how the guys really got involved in it, and I want to see more of that, because that's another marketing feature that these guys can promote themselves on, because it's
Marty, we'd only have to give up Bedard to make it happen. You're not wrong, sir. You're not wrong.
No, that's true. But I mean, it's another way, and yes, it was a flashy, hot pink, blue. You could probably only get away with it in South Florida, and like Ryan Hoyton's saying, and pardon me if I'm saying that wrong, the Miami Vice color scheme should be used by the Panthers for an alternate uniform. Dude,
so
they would
good.
sell
so good.
They would sell so much, of it. But I just think, even if with teal, I mean, I know the Sharks went all teal in their new uniforms, but just little stuff would be really awesome to see, just to have a little bit more personality, because that's what everybody's like hoping for. But I mean, that's how I look at it. It's something that will catch the hockey fan's eye, maybe catch a random person's eye. It's about growing the game.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and next year it's in Toronto, so next year none of the jerseys will make it out of the first round. It's fine.
Oh, wow! Who's going to be in the final for the All-Star game? That's the tough part.
No one makes it up. It's over. This after the preliminary games, it's just over. There's no championship.
Let's just get the 14 points out of the way right now. The Atlantic does not get out of the first round of the All-Star game. Let's just put it out there.
No one does. Just for some reason, no one can.
But yeah, the 2024, it's in Toronto. I'm really curious about that one down the road.
See, and I think that's a great place to get it back. Like, again, I don't mind some of the I like the thing they did in Vegas too. The thing they did outside in Vegas. Like, I don't mind one or two zany things. Just don't do everything. Everything doesn't have to be zany. Right.
I think. I mean, what will they do in Toronto? We'll go to Lake Ontario? Are we dropping pucks from? Do we get Wes McCauley to drop pucks from the CN Tower?
Jesus, you might kill somebody.
I mean, I don't know what you can do next, but I like how they're trying things out. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they do. Like, I want to see, again, I don't mind a couple of zany things. Just don't make the whole thing zany, and just move on from one event to the other. Don't stop an event halfway and just hard left turn into another event. Yeah. I don't know, man. Keep it simple.
And nonetheless, I look forward to getting my Western Conference All-Star jersey in March. Thanks, Fanatics.
Yeah.
Adidas. Anybody else that can actually get
Fanatics ticket. We are the Pucknologists. Look at us go.
Hey now. Let's move onward to a tweet from Carlo Coli. Say it for me. This is one I have confused.
Carlo Koliakovo.
Easy for you to say.
One-time super touted prospect by the Leafs that they would just not give up to anybody, and then he turned into just being an okay player.
He had a tweet out on February 1st saying, "I hope this is a wake-up call for change in the NHL. Fans are losing interest. No rivalries, lacking storylines, more buzz around talk of trades than actual trades."
Yeah.
Poor marketing of stars. Well, that's been an NHL tradition for years.
What's fucking new?
Too many math equations. I'm not. I was told.
See, I don't know. I don't know what he meant by that, because is he talking about analytics? Because I think if you're talking about ratings being down, and then being and blaming analytics for that, I think that's kind of silly, because when you look at how broadcasts are put together, it's just all these old hockey guys. It's never, you know what I mean? It's always the same old shit. It's the Pucks in deep, 120%. You know what I mean? Like that's the guys you get on TV. I don't think analytics has overly broken through to the television market. I feel like it's still kind of an internet thing.
Yeah.
More than it is like a mainstream TV thing.
Right.
Or is he talking about the salary cap, which can be kind of confused, especially at trade deadline time when you're trying to figure out like, oh, but how much, actual cap is there and how much accrued cap is there and how much cap space do they have based on XYZ? And because sometimes that requires some pretty interesting math to figure out how much cap space does this team actually have and how much, and how would adding this guy affect the cap at the trade deadline. And, so maybe if that's the respect, yeah, I can go with that there too.
No, totally. So my question is this.
Okay.
And he also mentioned horrible playoff format. AJ has gone ad nauseum on going 1 through 8, and
so
I would say
let me go through these one thing at a time.
Okay, go to town.
So let's start at the top. No rivalries. I think the one thing that I think about rivalries is that like there's some rivalries where I think everyone knows that they exist, right? But I think others you have to be in them, and if you're not in them, they don't matter to you. They won't matter to you. They won't resonate with you individually, right? Like for me, when I think of like a rivalry, right? Like I think of like Montreal, Boston. But does that rivalry really resonate with somebody who is in California? Maybe not. Right? Because that's the rivalry that was one of the big rivalries that I grew up with on TV, right? I think rivalries are so subjective. Are there rivalries? They're absolutely rivalries. Don't tell me there's no fucking rivalries. Have you seen Twitter when the Sharks play the Blues or the Sharks play the Golden Knights? Tell me there's no fucking rivalries in hockey.
There's definitely rivalries.
Have you? I mean, like the Sharks versus the Golden Knights, the Leafs versus the first round. There's rivalries in hockey. Like, do they resonate with you? No. Like, maybe they don't resonate. Doesn't mean they don't exist. Like, does the Battle of Florida really resonate with me? No. But would I say that because it doesn't resonate with me that it doesn't exist? Of course not. It just doesn't resonate with me.
Right.
So there's that.
Yeah, though I think when we were talking playoff format, AJ called twice because I could see he's like, let me say something about 1 through 8, and it's like we agree 1 through 8 would be nice. Top 2,
if it's actually 1 through 8, and the NHL doesn't find a way to fuck it up again.
Well, I mean, I'm sure if you're going to give them the division champion, they go 1 through 8, but you can guarantee that they get home ice in some form. Like if it was like that whole South, or as I used to call it, the Southeast division, where Carolina were to sneak in, okay, you can get home ice, but you're the 4th seed. Something like that. You reward them for a division title of some sort.
And that's the other thing too, is like I wonder if, going back to rivalries, I wonder if the key to maybe better rivalry, if the divisions weren't 4 divisions of 8 teams. Like, would that change, right? If you made the divisions smaller, so you've seen fewer teams more often.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
what,
you had
5-5-6.
Sure, I guess.
I'm just, and again, I'm not advocating for this. I'm just wondering if like that would help increase, because I think if you played more teams more often, I think there's hate. But I think like no rivalries is stupid. There's rivalries. They didn't go away.
No, there's just their marketing is wrong, and let's be honest, teams have to rebuild sometime. The Sharks are going through it right now. Kings are just starting to get out of one. Anaheim is just starting.
Right. And that's the thing, right? So, and when people talk about rivalries, like they talk about like the big mainstream ones. And I think the biggest failing of this playoff system was that when they put it in, we're like, oh man, we're going to get Toronto, Montreal. We're going to get the Battle of Alberta, just nonstop. And they, and then all those teams decided that they were just going to suck for the most duration of the playoff format.
Yeah.
Right.
And then try to get more division games by expanding to 84 games. There's no way the players are going to do that unless they get something back in return.
Yeah, I don't know, man. So no rivalries. I don't buy that. I think they're there. Maybe they're not as intense as maybe they once were. But again, I think that the media focuses on the sexy ones, and yeah, maybe those haven't really been as apparent because of teams not being as good as maybe you'd hope, right?
Right.
Lacking storylines. Again, I don't know if I completely buy that, because it depends on how much you're following, certain things. But I feel like there's still been, there's storylines everywhere. It's just, do they resonate with you? So again, subjective. Does the league lack storylines? I don't know. I managed to do not 100, but enough shows on YouTube this year talking about things with the Sharks. I'm sure I've found something to talk about for all these shows that we've done on a team that's basically looked the same all year.
Yeah. 52 games in.
More buzz around trades than actual trades, 100%. I agree, because again, I think this trade deadline is going to disappoint a bunch of people because the cap sucks, and the lack of fluidity in the league because of the cap has hurt things. Now, again, if the cap still went up, then they just pay people more money and it would still be in the same mess because the owners are their own worst enemy. But no, look at more buzz around trades than actual trades for sure. You don't see as many big trades right now, and I'm skeptical we really see one this year. Like, if Timo Meier moves, like, I'll be pleasantly surprised, because there's a part of me that thinks that it's just a bunch of smoke where there's no fire. Poor marketing of stars, 100%. We know this. The league is terrible at marketing its stars. It doesn't help that most of them have the personality of a cardboard box. Too many math equations. We kind of already been there. Horrible playoff format. I'm indifferent to this one. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's ruining the league. I think that playoff series are fine. Like, playoffs, people are playoff series brings hate, so it doesn't really matter how you get there. You're gonna get there. I think that, a lot of people that whine that the playoff format sucks is because they work for a network who doesn't make a lot of money when the Leafs go out in the first round, and they want to blame the playoff format other than reasons, right? It's the playoff format. It's not the Leafs are the greatest fucking team to ever win anything. Right? Like, that's, to me, that's like, I think the playoff format gets a lot of heat for things like that. Look, I don't really care. I think the playoffs will be good regardless of how you line them up. If they went back to 1-8 and actually did 1-8, I'm not going to complain. If they kept this format, though, I'm not complaining either. I really don't care. I think the playoffs have been good. Like, there hasn't been a playoff year where I haven't enjoyed the playoffs.
Right. I mean, there've always been good series all around. Like, for the East right now, it is Boston and Pittsburgh, although Buffalo's right behind them.
I think no matter how it goes, like, it's going to be exciting. The playoff race is always going to be exciting. The playoffs are always going to be exciting. It doesn't matter how we get there. If they change it, if they change the format, I know some people really hate this format. So if they change it, like, I'm not going to cry, because again, the playoffs are good because they're the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, and
it doesn't really matter.
And right now in the East, you have some good matchups. You have New Jersey and the Rangers. You'd have Toronto and Tampa again, Boston and Pittsburgh, Washington, Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are some nice matchups. I mean, the one, everybody thinks I get excited, Minnie and Winnie in the West. Dallas would get Dallas would get Colorado. Oh, that would be fun.
Oh, dreadful! Just dreadful playoff format. Those series are all exactly right. Like,
Seattle,
playoffs are good.
Yeah, Seattle in their first playoff series would get Connor McDavid in Edmonton, and then LA and Vegas. But if I'm not mistaken, not a whole lot changes if you were to go through the 1-8 format, which, of course, heaven forbid that NHL.com works for me at the moment. But I mean, it'd be Toronto and the Rangers, and then New Jersey and Tampa Bay in the East. That would be the only two that change. And then in the West, you'd get Seattle and Minnesota. Oh boy. Colorado, Dallas. Winnipeg and Edmonton. That would have been fun. Another rematch from the bubble year. And then LA, Vegas. So not too many changes, but there are some. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I don't know. And if they, I saw it in the chat earlier too, what like adding a play-in round, like again, like more playoff hockey. I don't really care. Like it doesn't bother me. I think the players would be opposed to it, obviously, because, just so the players, once the regular season ends, they stop getting paid.
Yeah.
so that would be more free hockey that they would have to play. I think that they would probably push back on that. But you know what? I don't really care. Like again, if they did a play-on thing, I don't think I would care as much. Like I enjoyed like when they did the bubble and they had the play-in round. I thought it was fun. I'm not I wouldn't advocate for it, but I'm not going to be like, oh, they added a play-in round. I'm fucking done with the NHL. Like fuck this, I'm done. Right? Like whatever. I think the one thing that the players have to do in their whenever they get the new person and they go into the next CBA, is they have to take more responsibility for growing the game. Because I don't think the players do enough on their end to grow the game. I think so. I don't know. I don't hate the idea of a play-in round. It's fine again, because like, it's like, oh, half the teams make the playoffs already, but like, yeah, but before this happened, like the playoffs have never changed. They've always been this way for a long time. So most teams made the playoffs forever, and it was fine.
Yeah, you look at the 21 team NHL before the Sharks came in. I think Minnesota North Stars got in with 67 points as a fourth seed out of the Norris division.
Mm-hmm.
67 points is potentially what the Sharks will end up with.
Yeah, so
I don't deserve to get in? No.
I don't care. More hockey's fine by me.
Sleepy Mofo, then shorten the regular season, please. And I think a lot of people have been saying that, but the owners won't do it. Just like they won't get rid of the All-Star game. Just like
they're not going to give up Gates. They're not going to give up Gates. Well, maybe if they have that opportunity to, because obviously, look, we all know that when playoffs happen, prices generally go up, right? So maybe they might take that less gate if they think that if enough owners think that the playoff gate that they would get from boosting the prices for a play-in round would increase that. I don't. Yeah. It's interesting. I'm curious I'm curious how the owners would react to that. But it feels like they sounds like they want to push to 84.
Yeah, I would think that you're going to come at a cost of 2 preseason games.
Two more after darks. I don't know, man.
I'll do my own. No worries. All good. Keep that streak alive, people. All right, and I think at this point we'll quote Brad Marchand in "Shut Our Pie Holes." So
we should.
In case you missed anything or you want to watch this again, check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher, wherever you want to find it, whether it's Apple, Google, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, Odyssey. You can find everything at tealtownusa.com. Of course, you're watching us right now on YouTube or watching the replay. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell. That'll notify you when we go on, which we'll have games this week, Ian. Coming up for the Sharks this week, we'll have 3 games in the place, teams against in the former Southeast Division. Tuesday at Tampa, Thursday in Florida, Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, Washington. Should we tell AJ and Jerk that they got to do Pucknologists at 1 p.m.? I'm kidding. Right before the Super Bowl. So I'm at PuckGuy14 on the Twitter and the Instagram. He is at Ian Blogs Hockey on Twitter. Famous last words, my friend, doing a little Pucknologist style.
This was an adventure. Like this show went places. I got like the things that I got to complain about on this show. I got to complain about Canadian politics and go on a diatribe there, and just Yeah, this show went places, didn't it? I hope you enjoyed the show. Obviously, next week it'll be back to your normal,
Oh, yeah.
regularly scheduled Pucknologists with AJ and Jerk. But again, we'll be around because After Darks are definitely still a thing, and they will be until the playoffs happen. And look, if other news breaks, we will fix it.
Absolutely.
When the Sharks do good, it's good, and when the Sharks do nothing, it's also good. So, good week. Go team.
My final word is Jacob Megna to Seattle for a 4th-round pick. If you're just joining us, is that the next domino? That's the second domino. We saw Nieto go away. We saw Weatherby go away. Now we get Megna gone. What's the next one to drop? Stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below telling you what the Sharks should do next, how they should fix the All-Star game, how they should fix the playoff format, how to get people back interested in the National Hockey League. Because let's be honest, I'll quote Gary Bettman, the game has never been better. So,
Sure, Gary.
So, until then, we will be with you. Who knows if Bally will be with you?
Jesus Christ.
And let's hope Bally just doesn't pull a Vox SB Nation, just say, oh, screw hockey. No,
Oof.
Let's not do that.
Yeah, I feel bad. Like on that note, I do feel bad for. I haven't opined on this publicly, but look, there was a time where I had a cup of coffee even at Fear the Fin.
Yep.
It's sad to see. It's sad to look at. I've always been kind of the thing that the sports blog is, I think, is kind of run its course, and I think it's kind of before its best before date. But a lot of good people came from SB Nation that are doing good things in the industry now. And I think there's still good people there, and I think it's unfortunate that Fox pulled the plug. And I hope they all land on their feet doing, I hope they all figure out something and they all land on their feet.
Yeah.
I feel bad. I feel bad for him.
Yeah, Fear the Fin was one of the go-to blogs the year. Jason Plank started there and then got a job with the Sharks. I mean, that was quite the development system they had for a number of years. So our best to them going out. And with that, we will go out. The Chomversation continues in the Discord, so join us there. And until Tuesday for After Dark following Sharks and Lightning. Oh, boy, that'll be fun. And then AJ and Jerk will be back with you Sunday night, 7 p.m. after a Super Bowl has been awarded. Keep it real. Keep it teal. Keep it real teal. Have a great night, everyone. We will see you later this week.